Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 20 of the Bible Together reading program here at First Christian Church in Jefferson City, Missouri. This week, our readings begin with movement and return. The ark in Samuel is brought into Jerusalem. And for the first time in a very long time, the people feel the presence of God is not distant or displaced. It is at the center of the community's life. And David, now king, responds with unrestrained joy. He dances and celebrates. The story of David, at least for this moment, feels like everything is coming into alignment. That sense of alignment deepens in 2 Samuel 7 when God speaks a promise to David. David intends to build a house for God, but instead, God promises to build a house for David. Not a structure, but a future. Not something David can build, but something that God will establish and carry forward. At this point, the story feels expansive. The ark has come home and the kingdom is taking shape. The promise of God is not only present, but it is active and generative within David's life. And yet, even here, the story is not closed. What we are given in this part of the story is not a conclusion, but a beginning that carries its own weight of possibility and tension. A life placed under promise is never a fully settled story. It continues to unfold in ways that are not yet visible within the moment of celebration. That pattern becomes clearer when we turn to Acts. Paul moves through hearings before governors and kings, and from the outside, his story appears constrained. His movement is limited, his future is uncertain, and his influence seems to be reduced. But within those constraints, the story does not stop. Paul continues to speak. He continues to witness. And he continues to interpret his circumstances not as interruption, but as continued participation in what God is doing. So the readings hold two movements side by side. David's story begins in expansion, presence restored, promise spoken, and life oriented around what God is bringing into being, while Paul's story unfolds within limitation. And yet it continues forward, even when the shape of that forward movement is difficult to see from the outside. What ties them together is not some neat and tidy resolution, but the very openness of them. These are not finished stories. These are stories still in motion, still being formed in ways that are not yet fully visible to those living inside them. So, as you continue reading this week, it may be worth holding on to this question. What does it mean to live inside a story that's still being formed? Not every moment in Scripture is a conclusion. Some are beginnings that only make sense in hindsight. And part of the invitation of these readings may simply be to stay attentive to the movement of God that is still unfolding, even when the shape of it is not yet clear. Thanks for joining me this week. I look forward to hanging out with you next week. Bye.